to Power Rankings presented by Energizer. Still going to my left, the man who gave you a goose with his Power Rankings. Stay at hand, Zeus. Getting loose with it today. And our purveyor of permutations, Cynthia Freeland, head of predictive analytics here at NFL.com and NFL Network. It is time for our Week 3 installment of Power Rankings. And Dan, you can always check out the Power Rankings that he authors at NFL.com/Power Rankings. So without further ado, I'm guessing most folks understand where the rankings are going to start, and that is with the New England Patriots at top. Number 1, no surprise there at all, Dan, especially with the addition of Antonio Brown and what he was able to do in Miami
as long as he's there, and we'll see if he continues to be on the Patriots. But with or without Antonio Brown, they are doing things that just frighten the rest of the league. And if you're someone that's burnt out on the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, well, be nervous.
Yeah, a little injury concern there on the offensive line, but defensively, that is kind of really where maybe they've been underrated and are now being properly celebrated on that side of the ball.
It's a
that
really good defense.
Has looked really, really good through 2 games. Granted, one of those games against Miami. Number 2, though, the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about this offense? Patrick Mahomes throws for 278 yards and 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, Cynthia. Now, I'm about the feel, you're about the real. Your machine has to be loving what the Chiefs are doing on offense.
I actually thought that they were going to have more like 45, 50 points in this matchup, but they slowed it down in the second half.
Well, look, if you can only put up 28 and a quarter, I think you've made your point, right? You just kind of cruise from there on out. So now here are a look at the full rankings 1 through 8. The top quarter of the league. Rams get a big victory over the Saints. Granted, a major injury in the middle of that one that likely dictated outcome. Cowboys continue to roll through 2 weeks. The Ravens at number 5 is where I'd like to stop.
Okay.
Because you've
And
got
Judge.
a team that, and Judge, that obviously seeing what the Patriots did to him as well, the way that they are dismantling their team.
Yeah.
Ravens would probably be the 2 worst teams in the league. A team with the number 1 pick in the 2019 draft and a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach and the Dolphins, and yet you have them moving up 5 spots to 4 spots from 9 to number 5. Maybe a little aggressive.
Maybe a little bit of a reach. You could say that. I disagree, but you know what? The reason is the top 4, the top-heavy nature of this top 10 is what has me a little bit out of sorts. I know who the top 4 teams are, and then it gets a little tricky because the Seahawks, Packers, Eagles, Bears, and Vikings.
Seahawks just went on the road to beat the Steelers.
Right.
Granted, Ben got hurt.
But the Ravens, the way they're doing it, it just has that feel. I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is Patrick Mahomes part 2, but it just has that feel of a team that's gaining confidence and things are starting to roll downhill in a really good way. So I kind of put them up there as a reward for how impressive they've been, and I'm sure they feel very excited about that.
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes part 2, he actually the Ravens face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs this week. It's going to be an interesting test to see kind of in your top 5 power rankings. We'll get a chance to see if this Ravens defense, and we're not exactly sure where the defensive pressure is going to come. This is going to be to me, that's where you're really going to see, like, do they deserve to be top 5 or not?
Well, then let's, why not? I mean, even though we don't like to look to the future, let's say the Ravens get blown out. All right, so there's that. Then let's say they beat the Chiefs. I mean, could they ascend to number 1 if the Ravens beat the Chiefs? Before we get to Cynthia's Power 5. Let's say the Ravens beat the Chiefs on the road. Would you put them at number 1?
First of all, to get to number 1, that would mean the Patriots would have to lose to the Jets at home, where the people in the desert think there's no way that could ever happen.
Victory over the Jets without Sam Darnold, the victory over the Dolphins.
The Ravens spanked the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and they are easily top 3, maybe the number 2.
Top 3? I want 1. I want to know if they're number 1.
No.
Okay.
The answer's no.
All right, to the matron of the matrix here. Predictive analytics. Roll it again. Freeland's
Roll
Power
it again,
5.
like 5 times.
Exactly right.
So I'm always looking a little bit forward here. This is obviously based on who is most likely to make the Super Bowl. So you do the snapshot of this week. I do the snapshot looking forward. You do notice that the Ravens aren't in my top 5. Chiefs number 2. 1 and 2 remain the same. Also a team that we haven't yet seen on your power rankings. The Eagles are number 3. This is a forward-looking projection. This is not necessarily this week. And yes, we did see the Eagles lose last week down in Atlanta. They were missing a bunch of pieces. So this assumes increased health.
If we're coming,
hold on.
Yeah,
she's got the Saints at 5.
I know,
but just went down. He's having surgery, and you have the Saints in an NFC with the Rams and the Packers playing well, the Seahawks at 2-0, and you have the Saints that are going to be without the services of Drew Brees for like 6 weeks. minimum probably.
Okay,
at
so this
5.
assumes he comes back week 10. If you look at their schedule, week 10 going on, it's a bunch of divisional games. So 5 divisional games left for the Saints week 10 going on, including 2 matchups with the Falcons. The Falcons, the only other team that really could conceivably overtake them unless something crazy happens, that they have 6 divisional games after that. So the Saints winning the division, making the chance to get to the playoffs is really what drives their ability to have that stretch at the end of the season with the big uptick leading to top 5 Super Bowl ranking.
So you're saying, I guess okay, so that's good logic, right? You figure there's
Thanks.
nobody in the South that
Right.
looks like they are going to run away with the division, and by the time Breeze gets back, even if it's a team that goes 8-8 or 9-7, they still get into the tournament by winning the division. And if Breeze is back and fully healthy, you still believe in that roster.
I'm assuming that projection assumes the best news that we have right now is that he's coming back week 10. That's
Right.
kind of where the projection lies right there. So assuming that, top 5.
And we'll get to the Saints with my power rankings later, but I'm with you. All they have to do is stay above water in these 6 weeks, and we're making the assumption that Drew Brees comes back and is Drew Brees. But especially with Cam Newton now potentially out of the picture,
Right.
the South feels wide open, but it still does feel like the Saints division in the long run.
I look at that NFC and it looks good. I mean, it looks stacked, and just thinking about them having to go on the road for 2 playoff games as
But
opposed
the
to
West will
maybe
beat
being
each other up. The North will beat each other up. There's really 2 teams in the East that could come out of it. And I think, there we go, slider it in. Someone from the South has to make the playoffs.
Has to qualify.
Right.
Yes, you have to, because you will have a division winner. Speaking of the West beating each other up, when we return, the 2-0 Seahawks, 2-0 Rams, 2-0 49ers. What a division!
Good.
We'll get into Seattle with one of their most famous and ardent fans, especially when it comes to the 12 and the Seahawks. Sir Mix-a-Lot will join us on Power Rankings
Love it.
next.
Is wide to the right. Let's keep an eye on Will Dissly, the tight end. Russell takes the snap. Looks far side. He's going to throw downfield. He's got Metcalf. He's got it. Touchdown, Seahawks. DK Metcalf one-on-one down the far sidelines. Good luck. Perfect pass by Russell Wilson. A 28-yard strike. That's number 201 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. What a Hall of Fame career he is having. 27-19, the Seahawks leading.
Crown Prince of King County. He is the Sultan of the Seattle sports consciousness, and you see him there raising that 12th man flag, and we could not be more excited to welcome one of the all-time great Seattle residents, Sir Mix-a-Lot, to the show. What's happening?
Yes, I'm an admitted Seahawks apologist. and I'm here to get down. I got some Steeler fans that have been texting me for the last 3 days, and I tell them I'm gonna get at them today. Yes.
So I'm gonna give you a shot at our guy Dan Hans, who's here. He runs our power rankings at NFL Network, NFL.com. He has got the Seahawks at number 6. They are 2-0. How do you feel about them sliding in behind teams like the Chiefs and the Patriots and the Rams?
That doesn't hurt my feelings. You know, anybody that knows the Seahawks know that when we go to Super Bowls, we usually start out kind of not on the radar, but at the end of the year, we're whooping ass with no mercy. So I'm not worried about power rankings, although we should be number 1. But that's cool. That's cool because we'll be there at the end of the season.
Well, you're legit.
I predict right now Seahawks Chiefs Super Bowl.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
You're legit.
Sorry, Dallas.
Seattle guy. You go all the way back. What's it been like having Russell Wilson kind of transform the franchise? They really have been in this decade the model of stability in that conference. So the Patriots of the NFC.
Yeah, you know what? I think I have to be honest. I was a little concerned when Russell got his big contract because usually when that happens, teams have a tendency to fall off because the offensive lines suffer. But in our case, we lost the Legion of Boom, which was that hurt my heart because I love that team. But we got some guys, we got some hogs in front of Russell right now, and we got a running game. So I think it's been beautiful to watch this team kind of stay the course. I thought, like I said, when the Legion separated, I said, "Oh man, we're gonna have to wait 5 years to do this again." But here we go again.
It's kind of like when Baby Got Back came out and Sir Mix-a-Lot blows up, and then Anaconda comes out, and now this is like the second wave of the hit. It feels like the Seattle Seahawks have really managed to keep the continuity where other teams have to go into a rebuilding or a prolonged stretch of mediocrity. So I feel like you're pretty lucky as a sports fan.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that I remember when Pete Carroll got here, there was some concern because of the USC stuff, and then the fact that we had an owner in Paul Allen, may he rest in peace, who basically was not shy with the wallet, and a coach that's aggressive. Pete Carroll's got to be like 30 years old. I'm serious, man. His energy, he chews gum faster than I walk. I'm serious, man. Just to see that guy, endless energy, and his mind stays young. He's not one of these, sorry, Tom Conklin, but, he's not one of these guys that thinks in the past. He's always leaning forward, and I think that the young cats on the team really appreciate that.
Pete Carroll,
incredible team.
Pete Carroll, known for his defense, obviously. Can you walk us through the moment that you heard Jadeveon Clowney would be a Seattle Seahawk?
It's funny. We were on tour, and we were coming home from the tour, tired. And one of my guys, Rush Darcell, he's in the back of my Sprinter, and he goes, "You heard the news?" Real calm. I said, "What news?" "Jadeveon Clowney coming to Seattle." I said, "Come on, man, cut that out, dude." He said, "No, I'm serious." I'm like, "No, you serious?" Then I watched the network, and I saw a bunch of people in Houston going, "No!" I was like, "Yes, we got him." So, I mean, it's amazing to watch him. I watched some of the game against Blitzburg, and wow, was he just? I mean, it's like he was like a hot knife through butter. I love it.
So we see behind you there, just kind of a wall of accomplishment, an American Music Award. We see the Grammy, multi-platinum records, gold records, collaborations like Judgment Night there with the Mudhoney. I mean, just a real staple of that community. So if we can wrap it up here, Sir Mix-a-Lot, you got 4 retired numbers for the Seattle Seahawks. Of the Super Bowl era Seahawks, take Russell Wilson out of the equation. Who's the one guy that really, really gets it going for Sir Mix-a-Lot? The one player you really maybe identified with?
For me, Cam Chancellor. I mean, dude didn't talk with anything but that pow. You know what I mean? That was the only word he needed to know. He was leveling people, and he gave it his all. And, I was sad to see him go out like he did. But Cam Chancellor, obviously Richard Sherman, that defense, that Legion of Boom was tight. I mean, they were I don't think I've seen defenses play like that. I thought Jacksonville was on the way, but they didn't want to spend money on their defense. Sorry, Jacksonville. And I've seen, obviously, Pittsburgh in the past. But to see a team, a crew that tight, and they felt dismissed. They always had a chip on their shoulder. I love when they took the the bad draft class photo. Everybody's like 5th round, 4th round, 6th round, and then they win a ring. They should have won all 3 Super Bowls.
You can make a case. Yeah, you certainly.
They should have won. I mean, Pittsburgh, let's be honest. I think John Madden retired because the calls were so bad in that game. Phantom holding calls. And obviously, New England, I'm sorry. I love my team, but I think they didn't like Marshawn. They didn't want him to be the golden boy. Just give the ball to Marshawn one more time, and we'd be talking dynasty.
See,
but
he's got a Super Bowl, and yet you still talk about the ones you didn't win. Give the ball to Marshawn, and boy, perhaps one of the worst officiated. I won't leave it there.
I'm going to tell you how cocky I was. I know you got to run. I was walking outside to my basketball court, right? I had to grab something out of my garage. And I thought the game was over. They're just going to give the ball to Marshawn. And I got a guy in L.A. who hates the Seahawks. And he texts interception in all caps. And I typed back LOL. And he said, wait and see.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. I call him Blue Dog. Blue Dog, I hate you, bro. Still to this day.
Well,
no Christmas presents.
We can see you're busy. You're in the studio. You take a few minutes to join us. Congratulations on the Super Bowl victory a couple years ago, the 2-0 start already, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk to you down the road.
I hope so. We got to get somebody to
those
beat
rankings.
up on Dallas, though.
There you go. Sir Mix-a-Lot, thank you.
Luck.
He's made it from 40 and 52. This one from 53 right hash. Scales on the ball. O'Donnell to Holt from the right hash. Angle to the left. Good placement. Boot by Eddie Pinheiro. Kick to the uprights. And the kick is good for the win. Pinheiro with the Pinheiro kick to send Denver down as time expires. Bears 16, Denver 14. They escape with the victory on the road. Fade to black.
And here you get a look at rankings 9 through 16 after the call of the great Jeff Joniak there on the Bears Radio Network, Football Network, I should say. Dan, you got the Bears at 9, and they lose at home to the Packers. They go on the road. Mitch Trubisky looks terrible, and that's a compliment. And yet you have them at 9, and that's what our man Bryce here is asking. How do you have the Chicago Bears at 9 when they have zero offense?
That's a fair complaint, and I think part of it, again, is what I said earlier about how the back half of the top 10 in this exercise is a little murky right now. So I have the Bears in there. I have all the NFC North teams in there right now. But this is a big week, and it's a big week for Mitch Trubisky. It's time for him to stop playing like Rex Grossman because this is starting to become a thing.
Don't insult Rex Grossman like that.
Okay.
Rex Grossman went to a Super Bowl.
Don't insult Rex
Well,
Grossman.
the Bears
like
took Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl.
He still went.
And maybe the Bears, maybe that's what's going to happen this year, in which case that will be a huge disappointment because Trubisky was supposed to be better than that, and he hasn't been. You wonder about his confidence right now.
Well, certainly. I mean, not to mention just the fact that he was drafted ahead of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that will never leave Mitch Trubisky. No. It's one thing to be, I would say, a league average quarterback. It's another to be one of the worst in the league when Pat Mahomes was the league MVP last season.
Well, you can't do it necessarily like that. That obviously, that's kind of just a different conversation when it comes to, I don't know, power rankings, because the Chiefs are ahead of them, right? But I think the interesting part, Mitchell Trubisky was sacked 5 times against the Packers in Week 1. They looked a lot better Week 2 against, we thought, the Broncos with Vic Fangio, being able to bring the heat there, knowing Mitchell Trubisky's tendencies so well. We do see the short passes. I think it starts going against Washington this week. I don't think he's going to be under pressure like that. They kind of get their O-line in place. It's a better O-line than we saw Week 1. I'm actually with you. I'm completely with you on this 9. Like, I'm not worried.
It's a hold.
Did you see what Derek Carr did to that defense? Derek Carr carved that Bronco defense up. I mean,
I don't know what's going on with the Denver defense right now. They don't have a sack through 2 weeks. Vic Fangio is supposed to blow them up.
Yeah. All right, let's shift. So you have the Bears ahead of a couple 2-0 teams. The Niners have won both their games on the road. The Bills have, kind of taken a big bite out of the Big Apple, knocking off both New York teams, and they're a New York team as well, Western New York. So which 2-0 team do you trust more, Bills or 49ers?
You can only play your schedule with the Bills, and I understand that on this power rankings exercise, I have the Jets and Giants at 30 and 31. So the Bills have not played a good team, but they've looked so good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that is something that will not change as the season develops, because it didn't change last year. This is already one of the best defenses in football. And what we've seen and what could change everything in Buffalo is Josh Allen might be taking that step. And he was a little scattershot against the Jets in week 1, up and down, came on strong. He was a consistent passer with that running game as well in week 2 against the Giants.
And he settled in the second half against the Jets and
Yes.
helped get them to
Yeah.
that victory after a disastrous first half.
A lot of reason for excitement.
Yeah. Plus,
But I mean, if the kicker would have made, they would have been 1-1 if the kicking game for the Jets had worked out, right?
Yeah.
So
But it
to
didn't.
say that, I mean,
But it didn't. Yeah.
it did.
didn't.
You're right. It did not. It did not. But it's not like they had like some 59 to whatever victory over. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing.
so you're not taking the Bills. You're going 49ers.
I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not anti-Bills.
You know
they
they
have
still
a good
play the
schedule.
Dolphins twice, right?
I understand.
so make it
And-
4-0.
and they're
Make it
and they're
4-0
playing the
now.
Bengals. So there's
Right,
there's
this
some
week.
they have some favorable situations ahead of them, but I think the Niners are actually like a real team. I think we're actually seeing this Kyle Shanahan offense come together. The run game looks awesome. Their defense. Hello, Nick Bosa. Welcome to the NFL. You're pressuring teams just ridiculously well. That defensive front, we've been talking about. Maybe they have a good defense. They do. They do have a good defensive front. So I agree with you. The Bills' defense is awesome, but so are the Niners. And the Niners' offense is also probably a little bit more better. That's great English.
Yeah.
I do math, not English. But the offense for the Niners is a little better than what I would think the Bills'
Almost
offense is.
600 total yards for the Niners last week. We've been kind of waiting for that to happen
With Kyle Shanahan,
and
Jimmy
Jimmy
Garoppolo.
Garoppolo. So the week 1 game, the reason really they're not ahead of the Bills for me right now is the week 1 game didn't do much for me against the Bucs, but week 2 was a lot.
But week 1, Jets and Bills probably
Yeah.
didn't do much either.
For me,
right?
it's like if you just flip it forward, right? What seems more likely in an AFC where you have so many 1-1 teams and they get to play the Dolphins twice? It looks like 9 wins is going to get you a wild card. And then you're the 49ers, and you got to play the Rams twice, and the Seahawks.
100%.
It just,
I'm
the
with
way
you.
it kind of lines up. It looks like
I think
maybe
the
Bills
NFC
are
West
the
is just
safer
stacked.
play.
I think
Yeah.
the NFC West is
It
just
is.
really, really stacked, and I definitely think the Bills are a beneficiary of their schedule and who they still have remaining. So I'm with you on that. But as far as who do I trust more, which team do I trust more, I think it's the Niners.
I trust you, if that means anything.
I trust
I
you
don't
too.
need no time for that. We got to get to these here power moves, right? Let's get to it. Power moves presented by Energizer. And here is your power move that is being questioned on social media, on Reddit. Browns beat Jets, move up 6 after getting dusted, demolished by the Titans.
Yeah.
You comfortable with that? 6 spots because of a win against the Jets with no Sam Darnold and then really no Trevor Siemian either.
And they didn't, you know what, the Browns didn't look great on
No.
Monday either. I will say that. But there's still enough there.
Save Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett is playing out of his mind. He is the early favorite, if it's not too ridiculous for that type of exercise, for Defensive Player of the Year. And Baker Mayfield is still not back to what he was at the end of last year. But I just look at this team. There's just too much talent for it not to come together. And when it does, I think it will happen quickly. So that's why I moved them up. I just think to put them behind some lesser teams from the talent perspective, just because of that week 1 clunker against Tennessee. And it was a clunker. I'm not going to.
They beat themselves.
Yes.
They beat themselves in that.
It was a
All the
nasty
penalties.
week 1.
Against the Titans?
Yeah, they beat
God, no,
themselves.
their offensive line was terrible.
But
Baker got
18
destroyed
penalties.
behind, but it was the number
Right.
one question going into the season was
Oh,
that
I was the one
offensive line.
questioning it.
Yeah,
I was the one questioning it.
it
I'm
was
with
on.
you, but-
And by the way, that was probably one of the reasons why they didn't look great in the first half of that game against the Jets.
Right.
Again, and I don't know how much that's on Baker and how much is he's just not being protected up front.
I move them up 6 spots this week.
That's a lot.
But that's to 15. So basically they're a
Right.
middle-of-the-pack team right
Right.
now, which a lot of people thought this is a potential Super Bowl contender. So they still have a lot of work to do right now, and I have them right in the middle of the pack. That's where they should be.
I mean, potential Super Bowl contender was crazy.
I didn't believe in
was
that, but a lot of
crazy.
people did.
All right, so the other way, and this runs contrary to what we shared from your top 5 as it pertains to the Super Bowl, the biggest slide
Woo!
came for the Saints, down 12 spots to number 16. That is injury related, obviously.
Totally. That's, again, when I have these teams that are in that 14 to 16 range, it's like around the NFL podcast, we call it the Dalton scale. He's the prime meridian of quarterbacks. Once you're in that middle group, you got to fight your way out to move back up, or you're going to fall into oblivion into the 20s. I think the Saints will slowly tick forward and maybe rest in this 12 to 15 spot. until Drew Brees gets back, and then they're going to pop back in. But I just think, given the injury, given that Teddy Bridgewater has not looked great, we don't know if Taysom Hill becomes a part of this offense in a really expanded way yet, though I imagine it could happen. I'm just going to keep them here for now, but feel like they could easily be back in the top 5 by the time December rolls around.
Yeah, I would say, and going back to your point, Cynthia, you win the division, you get in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what your record is. All you have to do is win a division. They've got an injured Cam Newton with the Panthers. They have a Tampa team that we really don't know what they are, if they're good, if they're not. Obviously, the schedule, you have to play each other. So Tampa could get some wins. Another win against Carolina. The Falcons got a nice win against the Eagles, and that's probably their path, perhaps, to getting back a little bit higher. And also, by the way, for all the people that want to take shots at Teddy Bridgewater, you come into a game and you got to figure out how to sort out Aaron Donald. That's just asking a lot for someone who's not a regular starter to figure out. All right, those were our power moves presented by Energizer. Coming up next on Power Rankings, I have to go to my crib sheet because I am so confused. Oh, buy, sell, or lease. This is very exciting what we're going to do when we return. We are going to focus on some of those teams in those high teen ranges and declare whether or not we're buying, selling, or just going to figure out what's going on there next.
Nice recovery. I like it. Yeah.
Fourth down and 2, 15 seconds left to go. Here we go. Mariota backs to throw, throws left side, and it's incomplete. It's incomplete on a slant pattern to A.J. Brown. Quincy Wilson on coverage for the Colts, and the Colts are going to win it. The Colts will win in week 2 with 11 seconds left to go. That was fourth down. The Titans turn it over. They're out of timeouts. They trail 19-17, and the Colts are going to win it.
Well, another awful week from Adam Vinatieri could not prevent them from the victory this time around. And Adam, reportedly kicking around retirement, decided let's give it a go and see if we can sort this thing out in the middle of it. So way to go there, Adam. The Colts at 17, Titans there at 18 as we make our way through the third quadrant of our quartet of power rankings presented by Energizer. Still going. So the Colts at 17. We'll play a little game here, buy, sell, or lease. You buy it. You think this team, I guess we'll just say, going to make the playoffs, or have a how about we'll say have a winning record, 9 wins. You sell, not happening. Lease, give me a few more weeks. Figure out what this team might be. So buy, sell, or lease Colts.
I'm selling them as a playoff team and a team that can make noise in January. I'd be buying them if they could win 9. I feel like it's an 8 or 9 win team. So nothing that's going to get you overly pumped up, but it will be a respectable season. You've seen it in the first 2 weeks. There's no Andrew Luck, but this team is still well coached. They play well in close games. The kicker will probably get it together. I mean, he's Adam Vinatieri. So I'm going to sell on them as a playoff type team, but they will be competitive all year.
Buy, sell, or lease?
I guess I'm leasing them because ultimately it was going to come down to this division beating each other up.
Right.
That's what they always do. They play each other like 10-3. Like it's very, very, very close all the time, low scoring. It's always about defensive pressures. And what I saw when they played the Chargers was their ability to actually get really good defensive pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So I'm unsure, and I'm also especially unsure because the rest of the division is a mess as well. So I'm leasing them. I'm tepid on
That's
them.
what I'm thinking about buying.
Ooh.
I think it's probably the best coaching situation in the division.
Probably get a good price.
Best offensive line in the
sure.
division. Sure. And a team that has an identity. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this team knows what it wants to do. It's going to use its interior to run the ball. Then they're going to run play action, take shots down the field with T.Y. Hilton. They have the best pair of tight ends. Jack Doyle is so underrated as a blocker. I mean, let alone as a receiver that makes those big plays, but they're great on third down. I think I'm going to buy. I think I'm going to buy the Colts.
Jacoby Brissett in a big spot. You trust that?
Yes, I do. Because, you know, Gardner Minshew in a big spot.
See,
Marcus
I take
Mariota
Deshaun
in a
Watson.
big spot. But you got to take that offensive line.
I get it. I get it, right? We're trying to figure it out.
I
But
trust the Texans in that.
All right, buy, sell, or lease as we stick in our third quadrant.
Gosh.
The Lions. Why don't you start us? You already, you know.
sell.
Sell? That was easy.
I mean, I think they end up 4th in the NFC North. They had a win that was, I would characterize it more as a not loss, right? And then they had a tie that was clearly not a win, but it should have been a win because 18 points, that's just there are things that are wrong. There are some things that are better from last season, sure, but this is not a team that has playoff chances. And I'm from Michigan, so I can say
They're
that.
0-1-1. We're all selling.
Right.
So you think about that game, the Chargers had like 450 yards of offense. They forced 2 interceptions.
A punter was the kicker.
I mean, nobody had a closer look at this than Money, who calls the games of the Chargers. You play that game 10 times, the Chargers win 9 times. They just the Chargers, they fumble at the goal line, 2 touchdowns called back by penalty. You miss a 41 and a 39-yard field goal. Lions had no business winning that game. I just think they're an also-ran.
They
did. Prater
kicks
missed
too.
an extra point, and I think it was a 42-yarder or something like that. So, but at the same time, I think you look at that. You know, they couldn't run the ball 3.5 yards per carry. Defensively, they really didn't get much pressure on Phillip Rivers, and they still come out with a victory.
Voice of the Chargers, pop in the community. Is it something that people come up to you, or you're doing a transaction at a delicatessen or something? Like, oh my God, it's Matt.
Come on, you know, you live in LA. They got no time for that. Yeah,
I'm
bigger
just
fish
asking.
to fry in the world.
If I were like allowed to have anyone narrate my life, it would be Money.
Absolutely.
I'm
Cynthia,
uncomfortable.
Power rankings.
We move on to the next one.
Voice.
Buy, sell, or lease. The Falcons after their big victory, Dan Hanzus against the Eagles.
You know what?
Think of the division.
I know.
Think of the division.
The division is very wonky
Up
right
for
now
grabs.
with Drew Brees out, and they did enough things on Sunday night to get me excited. That's one of the
Especially
more
that
beautiful
play.
plays. Matt Ryan checks into that pass to Julio Jones, and the pancake block by Jake Matthews, just gorgeous. So I'm gonna buy for now, but it's like, remember in The Office when Michael Scott got a little caught up in that real estate deal for the condo, and he didn't read the fine print, and even before he signed the paperwork, he knew he was making the wrong move, but he did it anyway.
This is you.
I'm Michael Scott in this scenario.
All right.
I'm gonna lease them until.
Congratulations on your condo.
I like it. Congratulations.
I have a nice TV on the wall. It's a good
Perfect.
thing.
You're going to sell?
Right. No, I'm temporarily leasing them.
Okay.
I'm doing a sublet
Short-term
situation.
lease.
Your short-term lease.
Okay.
Until Drew Brees gets back, I think it's going to be a question about the Falcons. Are they? Aren't they? Are they? Aren't they? My problem is the red zone and I don't know how they're fixing the turnovers in the red zone, which is a problem when it comes to making the playoffs. Red zone defense and offense needs to get fixed before I buy them. So short term.
Yeah, there's a lot. Running game. There's
a lot of questions.
It's really just the injury to Drew Brees, I think, is why we're having the conversation.
Short-term lease.
All right, we shift power to the people on Power Rankings presented by Energizer. That means we pay attention to all the teams that our man Dan Hanzus' way. Saints fans, myself included. So I guess you're But you know what? We balanced that out with you, Cynthia, and you still having them in your top 5 when it comes to the
Pivot.
long-term power
Remember when he was
rankings.
going down the stairs
Yes.
with a pivot?
I think if Jacob listens to the show or watches the show, he understands we're not panicking with this.
Now, this is the
Right.
kind of tweet we appreciate. They're still taking you on for your rankings, but it's a fan that is grounded in reality and has a sound foundation. Ravens fan, not top 5, which we addressed at the top of the show because they beat the Dolphins and the Cardinals.
This is the one that bothers me because when it's a Ravens fan saying it, that means I really messed it up.
All right.
I don't think
and,
I've been shaken to my core.
I believe one more tweet. We have one more tweet. Here we go. Texans behind the Niners, Bills, Vikings, Bears, and Packers.
I just you know what?
I'll give you the Niners and Bills.
I mean, it was 2 plays and a 58-yard field goal for the Saints. They could be 2-0 with a win in the Dome, hostile atmosphere on the road. I mean, not to make your case for you, Dan,
Right.
but I mean that team looked terrible against the
I stand by my rankings.
Stand by me rankings.
And I will say great use of the Kanye Sway gif, which doesn't get enough run. One of the great all-time interviews.
We will return with New York City, the big town, and 2-0-2 teams, and the back end, our bottom 8 of Dan Hanzus' power rankings there at NFL.com next. All right, here we go. Bottom 8 starts with the Jaguars after a tough loss, but a bold call to go for 2 out there in Houston. We always appreciate that. But let's focus on 30 and 31 here. Dan, you are a big Jets fan, born and raised, and boy, it is tough times in the big town.
It is. It is tough times in the big town. And when you could take all the hope out of a season in about 5 days, you know, you're talking something uniquely Jets. And the worst thing is, there's good news. Sam Darnold is back at the facility, and that's great.
Feeling better.
Feeling better.
Is he going to play?
But he has an enlarged spleen,
Yes,
and
you
apparently
can't
that's
mess with
not a
that.
good thing.
You cannot
and you
mess
look
with
at their
that.
schedule ahead, which includes the Patriots twice in the next 4 weeks, and the Eagles and Cowboys.
just the Eagles
They're
and
0-6,
Cowboys.
and it's over. And it's just like, I don't. Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, I guess we can. As you see Myles Garrett doing his thing
I don't
again.
want to see this anymore.
Luke Falk.
We can talk about the Giants and the fact that Daniel Jones is going to be taken over. I know a lot of people mixed feelings on that one. Not here for power rankings, but maybe another debate show on the network. But your just thoughts of what that ought to do for the Giants moving forward. And
I mean,
I'm trying to spin this positive.
here's my question
doing
for
my
you.
best.
Giants and Jets play. Who wins?
Oh,
right now it would
is
suggest
Luke
the
Falk
Jets.
the quarterback?
Because I actually think you might have them flip-flopped. Not that I'm going to take umbrage with your, umbrage with
You're
your
saying fan
31
stuff?
and 32.
You're saying there's some fan stuff here?
I think 31, 32.
30 out of 32.
You know.
Yeah.
You're calling Homer on me?
A little bit of homer. No, look, I think I'm actually surprised they didn't start with him in the beginning of the season just based on you draft him so high, maybe you have to pay off kind of your,
We're seeing some preseason action here from him.
Yeah,
There's
remember
a lot
in
of
preseason he
loyalty
was like
back
the
east to
most
Eli.
amazing thing. And I think Eli's a great quarterback. I think that there should be loyalty to Eli, but ultimately starting with Daniel Jones, look, it's the Saquon Barkley show. He's going to see a ton of 5-man fronts on first down. We know what Todd Bowles does against rookie quarterbacks. You've seen it. It's happened before. So it's going to be an interesting matchup with the Bucs.
I'd like to point out too, remember in the preseason, Daniel Jones was out there with the ones, and there were very few teams that were doing that. So while he looked great, he was likely going up against an opponent's 2s, 3s, 4s, while they kept the ones in
Saquon
to
Barkley
protect
show.
him, to give him a shot,
Right.
and maybe even create somewhat of a positive storyline going into the season. By the way, we have a viewer that has perhaps presented a solve for both teams, Dan.
Oh, look at that. Now that's a terrible idea. But I understand why you would think it's not a terrible idea, but the fact of the matter is that's a bad idea.
Does not have to sell his place. He can still go antiquing in the New York market.
Nobody wanted to see Joe Namath in a Rams uniform.
There's that.
And nobody wants to see
Eli in any other
Manning in a Jets
uniform.
uniform.
Save the. What about a Saints uniform?
Or a
for the next
Jags
6
uniform?
weeks? Or a Jags uniform with his old
Tom
I think
Coughlin?
Eli is
You
going off
mentioned
into the sunset.
multiple times throughout the show, Cynthia, the NFC West, and how impressed you are with that stack of teams. 3 of them 2-0. So how about a look back at all the success that they have had?
Last time I checked, the man on top of the mountain didn't fall there. Week 2 right here. This is that next step to climbing that mountain. That's what we love right here. What we love. Play together, execute together, play with passion, play with desire. All right, we gonna win this game because we outworked them Monday through Saturday.
Breaks a tackle. He's gone.
Oh, it's gonna be a long day for him.
They can't stop us! Oh, hey there. It's National Tight End Day. Whoa.
Oh, stop it, Kyler Murray. Are you kidding me?
All right, your power rankings presented by Energizer still going. Good, better, best is a game we enjoy playing. We attach a good and a better and a best to a 3-pack. So I will get it going. Cynthia, good, better, best. Since you want to focus on the NFC West, rank them.
Okay, so
Obviously, the Cardinals are out, so they are neither
they're better than we thought,
good.
but that's not an option in
whatever.
this.
So
that's
which
not
is
an
it?
option in
Rams,
this game.
Niners, Seahawks, go good, better, best.
Okay, so good is going to be the Niners and Macaulay Culkin, which is George Kittle. Yeah, exactly.
The lost Culkin brother.
The lost Culkin brother.
Yeah.
Better, the Seahawks. Best, the Rams.
That sounds about right.
I mean, it's not
That's-
that
that- I
I
controversial.
mean,
That
he could have got a little wacky with it and maybe made the 49ers the better over the Seahawks, since the Seahawks didn't look great against the Cincinnati Bengals and struggled against a Big Ben.
But
Yes.
then you'd be in
Big
defiance
Ben
of the
list,
power
Steelers team.
rankings.
Look, I'm
You know,
going to go with the
don't
power
wanna do
rankings
that.
on this because I defer to you on it. No, I stand by my decision.
All right, so go ahead.
All right,
You,
Hanzus, I got one for you.
Ooh.
getting loose.
Best-
Dan Hanzus. Here we go.
Best non-Kansas City offense. You ready?
Okay.
Your options are Patriots,
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys, or Ravens.
Okay.
Good,
Better
best.
or best? Rank them.
Patriots is good. It's a run-heavy offense still. Even with Antonio Brown there, I think that it's a good offense, not a great offense. The Ravens
Ooh.
offense is the one that has everyone's attention, has the potential to end up being one of the best attacks. I love what they're doing with their tight ends. Mark Ingram's balling out, and we know Lamar Jackson, what he's doing. But the Cowboys are the best of that group because they just have so much balance. And Ezekiel Elliott hasn't even really hit his stride yet. And you're having this at this moment. Dak Prescott has never played with more confidence. That offensive line is back to its heyday of earlier this decade, and they are flying right now.
Wait, you're saying to me that
In the
you
moment,
trust
through 2 weeks, good, better, best. I think through 2 weeks.
the Patriots? What? How are
stand
the
by
Patriots,
my story.
How are the Patriots
Simpson.
third? Good on this one, right?
Patriots are
You're
good.
gonna
By
take
the way,
Lamar
that-
Jackson and some receivers
That does
that have
seem
looked
odd.
good. over Tom
I don't
Brady.
care what you guys think.
That does seem odd.
Twitter machine. That's
Look
at
at-
Dan Hanzus. At
Watch
Dan
that
Hanzus.
Dolphins game. That was not a blowout until things went crazy in the fourth quarter. The Patriots were not blowing the doors off the Dolphins with their offense. The Dolphins.
The defense has been dominant for the Patriots, but I don't know if I'd be comfortable, even as great as he's looked, putting the Ravens' offense ahead of the Pats. Just still be, although I guess it's through 2 weeks, right? I mean, they're putting up ridiculous numbers. You know what? I'm all right
Patriots
with it.
fans.
I'm all right
Patriots
with you.
fans.
I'm all right.
At
I'm
Dan
all right with you.
Hanzus.
I got money.
Through
I
2
got
weeks
money on my
makes
side.
sense.
Thank you.
But I mean, how much offense do you want from the Patriots when their defense is holding? I think the number was 37 plays, 58 yards through 3 quarters
I think
to that Dolphins offense.
The Pats are like plus
So,
100 on
yeah,
the season, so
exactly.
everything's fine.
All right.
Whether they're good, great, or better, or whatever.
I know. These are like ridiculous.
Works
All
for
right.
me.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
Oh, this is fun. For Matt Money Smith.
Yes.
Good, better, best.
Uh-huh.
Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
Gardner Minshew. 3 guys that are replacing injured players trying to save their respective teams.
So I'll go good. Look, if it were a question on style and how much you like the individual, Gardner Minshew's number 1, right?
100%.
He's the best. But as far as quarterbacking goes, we'll go good. Gardner Minshew, by the way, if he's the guy that got you all the way down there, Doug Marone, how about just letting Minshew roll with it instead of handing the ball to Fournette from the 2? Let's see if Minshew can make that serious magic happen and go home with that disco jumpsuit with a victory in his back pocket as well, and a Sansa belt, which I always appreciate. So good, Gardner Minshew. Better, I'll go Mason Rudolph, just not enough for me to see to feel like
Did some
he's
things
the best.
in his relief
Did some
outing
things.
there.
A lot of people excited about the Washington, Rudolph, Oklahoma State. Don't you dare call them Okie State or they'll freak out. College connection there. But best is Teddy Bridgewater. I know it did not look good. Remember, the Saints got dealt another bad hand in L.A. when they did not let that forced fumble, scoop and score stand and put them in a position where they have a lead. They can play from a lead, maybe be a little more balanced on offense. Got away from them. But again, when you're asking a guy to come in for the first time, Drew Brees looks like he's going to be out for a while because he's got his thumb wrapped. And you got to deal with Aaron Donald and Dante Fowler and that crew. That's a bad scene. I think it's going to even out for Teddy. I know a lot of people are calling for Taysom Hill, and maybe they'll get a package in there for him. But I'd still go Teddy Bridgewater.
That's what's, to me, the most fascinating thing to watch because Sean Payton, genius offensive mind that he is, has always wanted to use Taysom Hill, who he's called Steve Young.
He's looked great. He looked great in the preseason. He's looked great in packages.
And if not now, when?
Right.
And you brought Teddy back because you believed he's a hold the fort guy, but Hill's the guy that Sean Payton wants to use a lot of. How quickly does that happen? Or does Teddy get a game to get into the flow? He's only had 1 start. It was the week 17 with everyone getting rested last season. I think it would be a little unfair to Bridgewater to muck it up with a ton of Taysom Hill, but I'm not the head coach.
I think kind of a low-key move that the Steelers have that maybe means Mason Rudolph's better than we expect is the fact that they went and got Minkah Fitzpatrick for a 1. So if they're going out there and trying to fortify their defense, I think they believe in Mason Rudolph. Obviously, these things happen in sequence. They knew about Ben Roethlisberger not playing. Mason was a starter, and then they got Minkah Fitzpatrick.
And traded Josh Dobbs.
So the interesting part there is maybe we need to start watching a little bit more Mason Rudolph to see what we've got here, right? Like, I think it's just more unknown.
And plus, I guess, for just real quick, that just a better balance for Bridgewater. Having Alvin Kamara
100%.
back there, having that offensive line in front of him, it just seems like that's probably the better
It's a better
situation.
situation.
Yeah.
And Michael Thomas is a pretty
that's what
darn
I mean.
good
Like
receiver
everything
there.
around.
Can't guard Mike.
Set up.
Can I just add one more thing?
Quickly.
One.
Gardner Minshew plus jockstrap. Google it. You'll be happy.
Hey, look, it's a man who
Could
likes
also
to
get you
stretch.
somewhere weird,
Everybody
and if
likes
it
to
does,
stretch.
Dan
When we
Hanzus,
return,
Twitter.
constructive criticism for this man from the social media followers as the power rankings. Week 2 posted, and everybody's got an opinion next. All right, Dan, as we are back on Power Rankings presented by Energizer, still going. Here we go, Bradley. Love your approach.
This dude.
Oh.
Even says, good sir. Speaking of sir, we had a Sir Mix-a-Lot earlier.
This guy gets it.
Listening to the pod for a year. Absolute treasure.
You are a treasure, Dan.
Congratulations.
Only my mom has said that to me.
You know what?
All
I'm
right.
going to be third. I'm going to be third.
That's awesome.
No, we're done with that.
What? No, and more good ones.
Get them off these Power Rankings. Can't take it anymore.
Whatever.
Nothing
Drowin.
specific. Nothing specific from Mr. Webster. All right, next.
Well, I mean, name like a
Whatever.
dragon. Like, what are we
Drowin.
doing here?
Hey, his mother named him.
No, I'm the
Yeah,
person.
good guy's name.
Try to
not
redo
above
your
What are you
notes.
gonna do next? Making fun of how he looks?
No, I'm not going to be
Jeez.
that guy.
Now this is a little harsh, Sean. With a U.
I like the idea of he's
Redo your
assuming I
notes.
take notes.
But clearly,
No.
clearly
we
it's a
already
product of
established
bad
on
notes.
last week's episode, it's real versus feel.
Right.
There are no notes. It's just dart throwing,
Hey,
baby.
listen, how about you just go back, double check the notes? Maybe this will turn out better.
Oh, I misread this. Okay,
me.
now I'll put your favorite
All
team.
right, last
ahead of
one.
that
Last
other team.
constructive criticism.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're caught for your
look,
job.
Dylan, I'm not saying fired. I'm just saying, look, of all the teams, Bears at 9 coming off that offensive performance. It
Honestly-
seemed a little bit high.
You should
They
be
needed
fired
a
because of that.
53-yarder to win a game against a team that got carved up by Derek Carr. It just seemed a little high.
Dylan, I have a wife and 2 young
Oh
sons.
my gosh.
And I want you
Yeah.
to think about it. Like,
Calling for your job.
do you really want to put a tweet out there
Right.
that maybe goes up the chain and gets me fired? You want to ruin my life
fair.
and endanger the happiness of my children
You want to be the breadwinner.
and my
You need to be the
wonderful Emily.
breadwinner. I've got a 529 plan that needs
Whatever,
to be funded.
bro.
Oh my gosh.
All right, that is it for this week. We'll be back again next Wednesday to do it all again. Thank you for tuning in, checking us out. And again, next week, same deal. Dan Hanzus getting loose with the Power Rankings, NFL.com/Power Rankings. Thanks for tuning in, presented by Energizer, still going.
You get
Can I see the
fired.
bunny still? No,
The
that
bunny.
one. There we go. Still.